So I will start by saying that, first of all, to thank the invitation from Roxana to be here. And what I will present is precisely a work that I am developing with Roxana. I am an academic economist, as Roxana, and we, and also our colleague Kumar Rishab, are developing a scientific work that is called, I think that by now we have changed the title a few times, and now that is not the title. The title is Data Risk and Firm Growth and Innovation. I believe that is the title now. So I will talk a little bit about our paper. Our paper develops the issue and this relation between data risk and firm innovation, both from the empirical point of view and from the theoretical perspective as well. But I will focus essentially in this presentation in our theoretical framework, in our model that we have developed, and that somehow helps us in thinking a little bit about these issues from an academic perspective. This is basically what I will do. So the idea, this has been already said from the other panel people, that we have in fact a real big problem. This really big problem is associated with the use of big data. We know that big data is important in optimizing processes, in increasing efficiency, but the issue is that this is a really big problem because we have, in fact, a problem associated with the use of big data, which is cyber risk. Cyber risk has many important problems, but the most important what I would like to stress, and Roxana has also mentioned, is the idea that cybercrime is, in fact, at an astonishingly fast pace, becoming costlier, more frequent, more aggressive, and it is estimated, in fact, Roxana has already pointed out this fact, that the worldwide cost of cybercrime in the next year will exceed the 10 trillion US dollars, which is, in fact, a huge value that we should take into consideration. But me, Roxana, and Kumar, we are very optimistic people, and so we have tried to find some kind of silver lining associated with cyber risk. So what we are studying is essentially the relation between cyber risk and digital innovation. And in fact, we have found a connection, and a positive connection. That is, the empirical study that we have undertaken, that we are undertaking, reflects this fact, that that the need to protect against cyber threats creates, in fact, a demand for more secure software, hardware, services, and therefore this leads to technological breakthroughs and to the growth of firms. And this occurs essentially when we are talking about the firms in the AI-intensive sector, where, in fact, cyber protection and product development are very close together, go hand in hand, in fact. So we have built a model. I will talk a little bit about the model. I will not bother you with analytical details, but let me just talk a little bit about the assumptions and also the results that we have arrived to, essentially by solving and simulating the model. And I will present this with 2 or 3 graphics that are I believe very simple to understand. So the idea is that we have a market with many firms. For these firms, data is a fundamental input. Data serves essentially to accumulate knowledge, and knowledge will then lower uncertainty and increase the efficiency in production. Then we introduce into the model the cyber risk. The cyber risk will, in fact, threaten the availability of data, and so it may compromise the accumulation of knowledge in the firms, and it has a second effect, which is to divert resources from innovation to damage control, and so there is a series of bad things associated with cyber risk. But as I said, we have tried to find a type of cyber lining, some kind of cyber lining, some kind of silver lining, I'm sorry, and essentially, what we have done was to separate firms into 2 types. So we consider heterogeneity of firms, in which we have the high capability firms, which are the firms that have the capacity to innovate inside, and this innovation has the ability to also to provide some cyber security. And then we have the low capability firms, which are the firms that have not this capability, and so they are cyber security outsourcers. Just to give one or two more details. The idea is that the H-type firms, the high-capability firms, are the ones that invest in cybersecurity, and this allows them not only to protect the data and therefore to lower the impact of cyber risk over the availability of data, but this allows also this type of firms to foster innovation and therefore counteracting the negative resource diversion effect of cybercrime. Then we have the L-type firms, which cannot produce their own cybersecurity, but they can purchase this protection from the H-type firms at a price that is determined endogenously in the model. And essentially, what occurs in this case is that the L-type firms are capable of using this cybersecurity they buy to protect their data, but they cannot use it for anything else. That is, they cannot innovate from these resources, and this is essentially associated with the idea in plain terms that these firms can use the program, but they don't know, in fact, the code. So this is basically the framework that we have studied. Then we have solved the model, we have simulated the model, and I just present here our main results in three very simple graphics. The idea is that with this model, in all of the three graphics, we have in the horizontal axis a measure of the cyber risk that goes from 0 to 1. And what happens when we simulate the model is that we find two thresholds. To the left of first threshold, cyber risk is low, so data is not very compromised, and so firms have no advantage in investing in cyber protection. That is, to take the investment, to take the cost, to incur in the cost of investing in cybersecurity. Then there is a second stage in which the H-type firms have in fact an advantage in investing in cybersecurity for the two reasons that I have pointed out, both for protection of data and also to innovate. And then we have a second threshold, and after this second threshold, also the L-type firms have an advantage, in this case in purchasing the cyber protection, the cyber security. And this is important also for the H-type firms that get an additional advantage, which is to sell part of the cyber security that they are developing. And this is important because we consider in the model that cybersecurity is non-rival, or at least it is partially non-rival. That is, the H-type firms can use the cybersecurity both for their own advantage and also to get a profit from selling these cybersecurity solutions to the other type of firms. The other two graphics insist in this idea that we have the two thresholds. In this case, I present the output level. The idea is that the H-type firms, more than the L-type firms, of course, may have here the silver lining effect, that is, as cyber risk increases, these firms can more or less stabilize their output, because as they lose data, they also innovate, and therefore they not necessarily lose with cyber risk. And this can also be seen from the perspective of profits, where the two thresholds are now clear. That is, to the left of the first threshold, what we have is a circumstance in which profits are higher if firms do not invest in cybersecurity and therefore do not incur in that cost. But after the first threshold, the green line, the H-type firms have an advantage in terms of profits in investing in cybersecurity. And once we pass the second threshold, we see that profits without cyber protection fall fast, and therefore also the L-type firms have this advantage. So let me finish just by presenting here a conclusion and a policy implication, which is essentially the idea that we can look at the economy from the perspective of these two types of firms. So we have a small subset of firms that are the AI-intensive firms, for which innovations in digital protection in fact spill over to overall product and service innovation, and therefore firms can in fact thrive amid cyber risk, while for the majority of the companies, cyber threats, although important, can be mitigated through security outsourcing. So what I would like to say, essentially the message that we want to convey, is that in fact cybercrime is a public problem. Of course, crime is always a public problem, but there are market solutions that firms may have the opportunity to explore. And the idea here is that we have, in fact, a symbiotic relation between the types of firms that we have in the market. We have the high capability firms that assume the role of guardians of cybersecurity and drivers of innovation, and then the small firms that can take advantage of the cybersecurity that is generated by the high capability firms. And so they can both win. We have seen this from the theoretical point of view constructing this model that I told you about, and we have also corroborated this with empirical evidence that shows that the AI-intensive firms are, in fact, the drivers of this new economy in this context. It is all. Thank you very much.